Sims Walker, knocked down.
Oh my God! Davis is going running all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
In trouble. He's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again.
Jackson takes it himself. Look at him dart back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankles.
I have never seen this before in my life.
Still looking. Firing. Near corner. It's caught! Denver! Unbelievable!
And welcome to the fourth down Fiasco.
Hello and welcome to the Fourth Down Fiasco. With us today is a very special guest. Our friend Moritz Heisler has come on, the COO of the AFLE, to help us understand a little bit of what's going on with the AFLE / the League Europe. Ask him some questions and, kind of get a better understanding of both leagues. We're trying to be fair here. We just talked to the EFA last week, and we're going to make sure to do our due diligence here. So as always, it is me and Danny this week. Jordan was not able to make it, so we don't have to worry about a bullshit question Jordan's going to throw at us. But yeah, Moritz, how are you doing? How's the day been?
Hey, super well. Thanks for having me, first of all. And it's been a good Saturday. Sun is shining finally a little bit. I have a feeling spring is coming, so that means football is coming, and that gets me very excited.
It's kind of backwards here. It's like, spring football versus winter football. Yeah.
But we're revving up for baseball right now. Yeah.
But I'm always down for some spring football, especially as Americans, of course, European football, because it makes sense.
So yeah, our first question is, how did you become the COO at AFLE? Like, what is your background?
Yeah, great question. I mean, my background is in supply chain and logistics. So basically, I'm a solution finder / problem solver, which comes in handy, basically, I think, in all kind of jobs. I've worked with the Hamburg Sea Devils on an operational level. I had some other interference with the ELF, helped out at a couple of championship games, and then the last 2 years supporting the Vienna Vikings on strategic level and working closely with the organization, grow the organization, try to find partnerships with NFL teams and so on. And I think over the last 2 years already, the plans had been established that there might be some change coming, and I was part of that. And at the end, they needed someone in Germany that could run the organization from a management perspective. But at the end, I'm to be honest, just the guy that signs for everything, and right now is liable for everything, which is definitely a challenge from time to time. But no, I'm super happy that we're in this position right now, and I have a great team working with great people, and I'm super proud that we can pull off this project here, and we're all super excited.
No, absolutely. So what are some of the main goals that you guys are having for this upcoming season? Like, what are the big metrics that you're trying to push?
I mean, from a goal perspective, I think the first thing, and that's one of the most important thing, is that we're regaining trust of the fans and the people who love American football in Europe. I think we all have been part of very good experiences and memories over the last 5 years, and also, unfortunately, some not so good memories and a lot of fighting and things that are not worked out the way that it should have worked out. So this is the main thing that we're doing right now. I think the second big thing is that we're trying to build more sustainable programs and ideas behind it. We have a amazing group of people together, and we'll come to that probably a little bit later as well. But it is about sustainability and building something that is not here for the next 5 years, but maybe for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And these are the main two goals that we have. Other than that, we want to, play and watch outstanding American football in Europe, because at the end, that's what we're all here for. I mean, I'm a sports fan, and I think you guys are, and I know that a lot of other people are, and that's what we're here to also focus on, and we're super happy to do that.
No, yeah. I think regaining trust in the fans is a very big thing, because I know with everyone, media, fans, everything, with everything that's been going on, fans are quite upset, which from an outside perspective, rightfully so. It's you guys are trying to figure out the best way to keep European football playing at the highest level. So it makes sense.
I wanted to follow up real quick on the sustainability point that you brought up. Just what is one of the, when you were mentioning the sustainability goal, making sure we have a European league, not for the next 5 years, but for say the next 10, 20, 30, however long you could possibly push it. What is one of the ways that you're looking at actually achieving that sustainability? Like, what's one of the big goals you're pushing in that regard?
I mean, for us, it is important that we have the right people and the right mindset on board, that we work a lot with knowledge transfer from the programs that have been around for ages and have a lot of experiences in building sustainable programs. We want to obviously work more closely with the communities. We want to make sure that we have those grassroots programs under us. We want to work in different areas. Youth flag football tournaments in summer, but school tours also, where we not only do football, but we're also talking social responsibility topics like body positivity and anti-mobbing things and stuff like that. A lot of the things that football brings to the table from a sporting perspective can be transferred in real life and into business and other things. And those are important things that we need to follow up in order to build something that is not just here, like the NFL Europe, that has great success in the past, but stays for a very, very long time. But in all transparency, I mean, we all know building something takes a lot of time, resources, money. It takes people that are willing to put in the extra mile for a long time. And I think from our perspective, we have that group of people together that is willing to do so, have the abilities, and shares the same vision to make football in Europe number 2, number 3 sport, and that we basically can not only have this conversation about this season or next season, but we can have the same conversation within the next 5 to 10 years and what we have achieved them. And to follow up on the first comment, I mean, I agree. I'm also not happy with a lot of things, and I will not sit here and say, "Hey, everything is perfect and everything looks
Yeah,
good."
definitely.
I'm also a football fan myself, and I know that right now it doesn't look how it should look or how it could look. And there are multiple reasons for it, and we're trying to fix most of them. Some of them might probably be not fixable for this year or even for next year or forever, but we will not promise something that we can't keep. And I will not sit here and say everything's going to be perfect and it's going to be the perfect year, best season ever. Everybody will be super happy. No, not everybody will be happy, but we're working hard on things and make sure that we don't do the same mistakes twice, and make sure that we bring a very good product to the field, and that the fans can again regain that trust that they lost based on what happened the last 2 years and probably also what happened this year.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think as long as football gets played sometime this year, I think people will be happy. Competitive football, yeah.
Well, that's like I talked about it with Matt a couple of weeks ago. That's a good point. Like with just the leagues moving, in these directions, trying to sustain American football in Europe. If you look at just American sports in general, I mean, almost every major league has had some sort of lockout season at some point, whether it delayed the season entirely or shut it down halfway, anything like that. So it's really not about, oh my God, this is happening in Europe, there's these two different leagues. It's about, okay, how is the recovery process? Like, these types of things happen in all professional sports, but it's a follow through of, okay, we have this falling out, we have a little bit of this dichotomy going on. How do we actually pick up and recover and we keep our momentum going? Because, basketball wasn't very popular in America until probably 70s, 80s, like even in the 60s when it was starting to blow up. I mean, not many people were watching basketball. And now you look at basketball and yeah, the numbers don't compare to the NFL, but I mean, the NBA is, surpassing the MLB and has been for years. So it's, you can see that type of vision and that future coming for European football as long as the momentum keeps going, even past the adversity.
Yeah, and you have recent things as well. I mean, the Formula One, for example, also went through a tough crisis at a certain point when the owners of the team were not super happy with what Bernie Ecclestone brought to the table. And actually, we all together used that as a reference case to compare what happened in ELF and what could go wrong better in the future. So there are multiple examples, as you said, where change is part of the process and part of the growth. But it's absolutely correct also what you said. It is about how we recover from change and how we recover from mistakes that have been made in the past. And that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges that the team and I are facing right now.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot about the negatives and all that, but kind of on the same page. You've answered a little bit, but when you think where the AFLE is headed or what your goals are, what excites you personally, and what do you think the fans are going to love in this year, 5 years, 10 years, etc.?
Yeah. I mean, me personally excites working with outstanding and amazing human beings. I'm also a people person, and I like attitude over experience when it comes to business. I like that people want to go the extra mile, even though they had like a horrible experience over the last couple of years. There were people not being paid on time or not paid at all, for example. Yeah. And these people are still, some of them are still around. And this is for me an amazing thing. And it shows also the trust that they have. But what also excites me is that we're all going into the same direction visionary-wise, where we all want to build something, and we all go, even if we're coming from very different backgrounds and different education level and different professions, everybody goes into the same direction and wants to build something here together as a team. And we call it co-opetition. Is like you compete on the weekend, but from Monday to Friday, these guys are your partners. You do some things with them together, and you make sure that we're achieving results together that are good for the leagues and for the teams as well as for the league. And I think this is the way going forward. What the fans should be excited about, I mean, I think we have a couple of really strong programs in our ranks. And I know other people like to talk about how much stronger and better and faster they are. I'm just saying, like, our teams are bringing good football to the field, and they're going to bring that to the field they have been bringing that to the field for many years, and they will bring that to the field many years to come. And we want to build something over European borders. It's not like we have a team in Poland and a team in Vienna and a team in Germany. We want to bring people together and make sure that we can all enjoy football and make sure that we're having a good time together. Because at the end, that's what it's all about. We want to have a good time. And for that good time, we're doing everything that we can.
Yeah. And bringing up about like how you're all working together Monday through Friday and stuff like that. I was able to last season hop over to Vienna to catch the Vienna-Prague game. And after the game, I was talking to Robin a little bit, and he looked over and he saw Coach Kaleke talking to the Prague owner, and he's like, hold on. He's like, I trust this guy. He's my friend, but I need to go see what they're talking about. He's like, I don't want him stealing my coach. And it's just like just that short interaction between that. It's like the friendly banter that even just the owners have between the teams. Yeah, the game for Prague was not a very pretty game, but they're still going to have fun and talk afterwards and probably go get a beer once everyone leaves the stadium.
Yeah, and you can be sure that we talk to the owner of Prague before the game and also after the game. So what I mean is, like, again, it is competing on the field, which is perfectly fine. Again, that's what we all need. And we also need some friendly banter, and we need some rivalries and all these things. But in what we need way more than this, because this is a very short amount of time that we're doing it, is cooperation. And that's what you see here, and the spirit that everybody brings to the table. Even though, and we can be also very honest and transparent about that, there have been some tough times for teams and ownerships and changes alongside management, owners, teams, coaches, and so on and so on. Again, we're faced a lot of adversity over the last couple of years that we now need to overcome in order to get better.
Absolutely. So I promise we're going to focus on the AFLE for the majority of this interview, but we got two questions about the EFA for you. So what was the main cause for the divide between the EFA and the AFLE?
Yeah, it's probably my most favorite question right now. To be honest, I think at a certain point we just had different views on how we want to run things for the future and how we gonna secure success for everybody. And as in every big company, family, team, you have a lot of different opinions, and sometimes these opinions are not going very well together, and you need to separate, take a step back, and then either come back together or go your separate way and see which opinions and which wants and needs are succeeding over the other ones, or which could even coexist. I really don't know. But in general, I think everybody had the same approach and still has the same approach, and it is about football in Europe, period. It is not about left and right and who's better and faster. It is about football in Europe and how we can all develop it together. Yet, at a certain point, some teams went left and the other teams went right, and both are still in touch with each other on several occasions. But at the end, we're not coming to at least a conclusive level or some kind of compromise or anything. Sometimes it's better than separating, and both goes their way, and then we might find back together at a certain point. There's no from our side, and also for me personally, there will be no bad word about EFA teams. I mean, I've worked with all of them for a long time together, very intensely, and I enjoyed working with them together, and I would enjoy working with all of them together in the future, hopefully.
So you used the word hopefully there. So when we're talking about the hope for reunification, how does that look on your guys' end? Do you see in the near future a merger between both leagues, or is that something that might be or is that something that's not right on the immediate timetable?
I mean, I said it a couple of times over the last weeks. I mean, we had some touch points here and there still, and we still have touch points where we talk. To find a compromise for this year based on the timing alone, it's going to be very tough, to be honest. If we would have been in the stage of this in September last year, I would have said, we're coming back together. No, don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. But based on the time frame and where we are right now and how different also our organizations are structured. I mean, my team is working since November on operations, TV, referee clinics, and all these kind of things. And we're just very far apart. And it takes a lot of time and effort to do that. You need a lot of full-time employees to get done what we need to get done in order to bring a good or even better product than last year on the field. And I'm, again, grateful that I have a lot of really, really, really good and talented and outstanding human beings that work here with us, as well as a really good group of owners that is understanding division, that is taking risks, like the investor, for example, who said, hey, in November, we need to pay salary, so I have to put in money, because otherwise it's going to be very tough to have these people on board. And I think from that perspective, immediate timetable, I would say it's going to be really tough. And we're trying from our side, we're trying the best. And again, you will not hear a negative word out of my mouth about them, and if they're better or worse than us, or what the best program in Europe is and what is not the best program, or what's the record was last year. I really don't care, to be honest. What I care about is how can we bring football in summer to the stadiums, to the TVs, to the streaming things that people use to watch games, and how can we regain trust from our fans and make sure that we have a really, really good product the next years. And me personally, I would definitely want to reunite at a certain point, because I think there are great programs out there as well. But we also have to look at how the programs are looking like. How is the structure? What is the market where the program is in? Not all the markets are the same, obviously, in Europe. And from a league perspective and from a business perspective, and I'm unfortunately now responsible also for the business side of things, we need to make sure that we have the things that we need in order to grow and make sure that we have a sustainable product.
Yeah, and you brought up structure, the difference of structure between the EFA and the AFLE. How is the structure of the AFLE better than its predecessor in the ELF?
I think most of the answer here is the word cooperation between the teams. I think the ELF was a very strong center with very strong centric led decision making, I would say, without asking the teams of feedback or anything from a market perspective locally. Again, we're not the USA. Some would say luckily, some would say unfortunately, but there's a lot of diversity in Europe. You can't compare Poland to Denmark or Vienna to Italy, even though that's a little bit closer together. But there's a lot of diversity in how is the local market, how is the income structure, how is the fan structure, how long is football around, what's the level of football, and so on and so on. So I guess from that perspective, the cooperation is definitely the biggest the biggest change. Other than that, I think we also can be very lucky that ELF existed at a certain point, because we learned a lot, and we learned a lot of good things, how you can do things amazing and what went very super well. But you also learned a lot of things that needs to be better or improved in the future. And I think from that perspective, we have a good basis, and we had knowledge, and we gained experiences and also memories that we now can use to do things the same or even better from time to time in order to build it. I think those two things are the two main things. And then from the smaller things, I would say growth is a topic. Me personally, and I'm not a football expert, I'm saying it again, I never played football, I'm not a coach. I know rules, but not all of them. And for me, growth is a topic. So the idea of the ELF to have 24 teams in Europe at a certain point, me personally, I see at this stage quite challenging and ambitious going forward, I would say. As per our analysis and evaluation of the market, we see a number of 18 or 20 max going into the next 5 years. So growth is going to be much slower. And we only want to work with the right people. We don't stress people to say, hey, we need you now. We want to work with the right people. We want to evaluate structures the right way. We want to set KPIs for expansion teams. We want to make sure that we bring the right people on board. That adds also value to the overall network of the AFLE, and not only to a specific team or a specific country. We want to make sure that, again, the cooperation, the competition is the one thing that speaks what we stand for and shows everybody what we're going to do in the next few years.
Well, that was actually one of the big things we brought up when we were talking to Michael over on the EFA side, is we were talking about expansion and how that's looking. And a good point that we kind of all agreed on is, if you expand too quickly, I mean, you're going to be looking at situations you had in the ELF where you had a couple of teams that were really not competitive at all compared to the top end talent. I mean, even you see in the bigger leagues in America, right? I mean, you can name 6 NFL teams that are like, yeah, these guys year in, year out aren't going to be competing for a championship. And that's the major thing when you're making a league is, do you really like, yeah, 24 is great and it's cool. We have 24 franchises and that's such like a huge accomplishment. But is it really that big of an accomplishment when 10 of them don't have a chance to make it to the championship team year in, year out? Like, that's not really great.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this is the point where we need to be very careful. We need to be very strict also in our own processes and make sure that we evaluate, that we measure, that we get securities, that we see things, and that we build something trustful and trustworthy together.
Yeah, definitely. And we kind of heard the term tossed around about NFL light regarding the structure of the AFLE. Can you elaborate on that? What does that NFL light mean?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the NFL is the gold, platinum, whatever diamond standard of the sports leagues, and they do a couple of things really clever and really smart. I mean, you can't own the NFL, for example. The teams are in a trade association or in an association, and they have a license that you can sell, but you need a lot of people to agree to that. And you can navigate within your borders, but they are very strict about certain things. But we also, as I said before, we want to involve teams way more. We want to build committees for competition, for finance, for broadcasting, where teams should have control about what we're doing together. I heard a lot the term that the teams are the product, which is true to a certain amount of time and limit, I would say. I think a healthy league helps teams, as well as without teams, there is no league. So it is coexistent and necessary that these two things go together. So the NFL Light model is basically involving the teams in decision-making processes, make sure that the power is not only on one side, but it is on both sides, and where teams need to be more involved, it's more to their advantage and less to the league maybe. But there also needs to be a strong center, because we need to take some decisions into accountability and make sure that we evaluate everything from multiple angles. Again, to have the best teams on paper is a good thing, and it sounds amazing to me for a competition on the field. But does it help the league if you play in front of 500 people somewhere, or does it help the league if the TV contract of the respective country is not worth any money because the interest for American football is not very good? Those things needs to be evaluated and go hand in hand when it comes to analyze whether it's a good team that is strongly competing, or if it's a good program that has been there for a lot of years with a lot of fans and structures like that. What we can do again, and I think we had a couple of very negative surprises, is teams not finishing the season, teams changing stadiums and venues 2 weeks before the season and stuff like that. This is not what trust will look like, and what regaining trust into our fans will help. We know infrastructure is one of the most difficult topics, obviously, for us, because, again, nobody owns his own stadium. But we need to make sure that we have solid venues in good areas where we can do a good fan experience. And some of the things from the past are not matching at least AFLE standards. So this is something where we need to look really hard into everything and make sure that we get the best out of it.
You say standard. What standard are you hitting for fan, or wanting to hit for fan experience that the didn't?
First of all, we want to make sure that the fan experience in all stadiums is similar or comparable. Again, not everybody plays in a 30,000 seat arena like the Rhine Fire is doing. Yeah. But we want to make sure that the overall fan experience is kind of comparable with each other. We want to make sure that there are certain standards towards security, TV production, and stuff like that have been established at a certain point. And we know not everything will be perfect from the future. But for example, what never happened, we hired a quality manager that will go through teams and make sure that the game days are up to the same level of standards. Again, not the same infrastructure, not the same stadium, but that we have fan experience, that we have a tailgating, that we have a pre-party, and that also inside the stadium, we see a good level of fan experience, that the fans come excited to our games, leave excited, and come back, because that's what we all need. And we also need to convert more fans to AFLE fans or football fans in general. I think our customer acquisition is kind of the toughest challenge that we face right now, because there are tons of NFL fans out there that are not going to European football because they think it's not good enough or not attractive enough, or other things in summer are more important, which I totally can understand. But once people are in the stadium, at least from my experience, and I have been around in the ELF for quite a while in different stadiums and different occasions, they come back because there is a good experience out there. No violence, you can bring the kids, you have a good time, fans are sitting together, almost zero police in stadiums. But we need to make sure that these experiences are all on the same level, and that we're not playing in front of 200 guys this week and then 14,000 the next week. This is the most important piece.
That's something I kind of want to follow up on, is when we're talking about the fan experience, we're talking about making sure, you don't have to go to the Rhine Fire game to get the Rhine Fire experience. You're going to get that experience at a different franchise. We actually saw a lot of struggle with that, or at least from what we heard on our end, with specifically the Berlin Thunder, who are a part of the AFLE, is that the Berlin games were very empty. It didn't seem like there was a good experience when they were there. The field wasn't really up to snuff at Berlin. I don't know how much you can speak on Berlin's behalf, since, you're not specifically, in charge of them, but just, is there anything you can give us on how that's changing for Berlin and how their fan experience might improve for this upcoming season?
Yeah, as you said, I cannot speak on behalf of the Berlin Thunder. What I can speak of is that an experience like last year would not happen in the AFLE, not this year and not upcoming years. This is not up to standard. And I know that there have been reasons for everything, and I can understand and sympathize with some of them. But from our perspective, this would not happen in the AFLE. And I obviously are involved in some of the operational processes. And I can just say, in the specific example of the Berlin Thunder, fans will have a much, much different experience this upcoming season with the Berlin Thunder. And the stadium is going to be different, and the experience is going to be definitely different as well. And again, we had more examples like Berlin Thunder where stadiums were changed right before the season, not in the city anymore, outside of the city. And also the good programs like Vienna, for example, have some infrastructural challenges from time to time because they play in very modern soccer arenas, and then they go back to a very old classic soccer stadium. And we need to make sure that, again, we need to have a certain level that we need to reach. And it's not going to be perfect from the first year on, but we want to make sure that the fans have the same good experience no matter where they go. And I think this is an important one.
No, and it's good that you're bringing up the consistency, because that is something when you're looking at the ELF that there was a lot of concerns with there. So some of the concerns we wrote down, is the ELF accrued over 10 million euros in financial debt, then neglected to pay personnel, which we alluded to earlier in the interview, especially players and, personnel staff, and that they had multiple of their franchises, now have completely fallen apart to bankruptcy. We just saw a team who won the championship game and they no longer exist, which is insane to say. But what are you guys doing over at the League of Europe / the AFLE to ensure that we're not seeing a lot of these same issues reoccur?
Yeah, I think the first thing that we're doing is that we're looking at who we are dealing with faster. I think expectation management is a big thing. I'm pretty sure that if the ELF would have told some of the owners that it's going to cost you X amount of money to run a program, and you're probably going to lose a lot of those monies that you put in, some of the owners would probably have said, nah, I'm not so sure if I want to invest in that one. So we're obviously evaluating the teams and the people that we're working with way earlier, and not coming to us a big surprise at a certain point. Second thing, obviously, again, co-opetition. Again, we want to cooperate with them, and there will be obviously some kind of a rescue fund, and there will be some more things implemented to minimize my very big risk assessment that I run in my office. I come from supply chain. Risk assessment is part of my daily DNA, obviously. And I do a lot of it for football too, and for things that might happen somewhere in the future, and so on and so on. So for me, those things go hand in hand. So you evaluate better who you're working with. You set the right expectation level. You have a lot of transparency when it comes to budgets, how much money you spend, what cost, what stadium costs, and all of these things. And we also advise the teams. We're working way closer with the teams together now. There is no, this is the league and these are the teams. It is a joint project, and there's, from our side, nothing that we will hide towards the teams. And the teams are not hiding things from us, because we all want to make this product better together. And I think those things are the most important piece. On the other side, and again, we're very happy and grateful that we found someone someone from the US that is willing to still invest into football in Europe, because we saw it all. It cost a lot of money to build something like that. Yeah. And one of the things that we're obviously we're not coming on common ground with the EFA is the way how financings are structured. For us, two things are super important. First of all, the teams need to get a set amount of money in order to have a little bit of freedom to work and grow and build. This is the one thing that was never there, a guaranteed revenue share, basically. So no matter what happens, the investor puts in a lot of money into teams for the first 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then second of all, after what happened the last 5 years, all the negative press, numbers that are flying around, and I can't confirm whether ELF did 10 million or 15 or only 5 million, but there was a lot of money obviously burned. There is no, the investor is not asking for securities. If you buy a house now and you go to the bank and said, I need €1 million, the bank is asking, hey, what do I get for that, instead of, and I don't mean money in terms of you need to pay for the loan, but it's also what are you putting up for deposit, like your paycheck, your house, your sister, whatever it might be. And I think this is also something where we're very grateful that we have found somebody who understands the vision, who shares the vision, who sees what we have done in the last 5 years and what the opportunity is here in Europe. And based on that, we can go forward and work and actually build something that keeps on going.
Yeah. And you brought up saying that, like, yeah, everyone, all the owners are going to lose money. It's like, if they knew that from the beginning, maybe they wouldn't have. And I'm just curious now, in a perfect scenario, how long do you think it will take before teams become profitable?
I think that's a case-by-case answer, to be honest. I think some teams are much closer than others, but I think you're going to see some surprises there because of better marketing, better joint advertisement, better working together, advertising home and away games, for example. Some things that we have planned for the future that will also raise the level of play and the level of games. Some of the things that we're going to plan for entertainment, for example, will make a big difference in order how many fans will come to stadiums. But again, I think that is an answer that we need to go into case by case, from country to country and team by team. I think some of the teams are close, very close. And some of the teams will definitely need a couple more years. That's for sure.
Yeah. Just curious. But so from September on, a lot of people from both leagues, all leagues, have been using the word transparency. And you've probably been asked this question a million times. In what way will the AFLE be transparent? Because that's a lot of gripe with the fans as well. It's like, you're saying something, but it's kind of just a generic overview of, not garbage, but for lack of better words, just kind of thrown out there.
Yeah. I think the transparency topic is an interesting one because, I mean, when we remember where we're coming from, 6 years ago, all players that we have right now in Europe paid for playing American football or got a little bit of gas money here and there, but they paid for their helmet, they paid for their shoulder pads. They were not flying around in private charters and staying in decent hotels all over the place. So we're coming from a very, very, very low level, I would say. So where we are now is 10 steps ahead, and this is something which, again, where the growth needs to balance at a certain point. Also, the amount of information that is shared and leaked and been discussed in the internet is exponentially grown over the last couple of years. Some of the things are very important to know. Some of the things are, from my perspective, like leaked contract documents, for example, are an absolute no-go. But overall, again, I understand that fans who spend money to go to stadiums, buy equipment and merchandise, want also to be involved in certain things. I as a fan of football, I can totally understand that. For me, here it gets a little bit tricky. I think contractual details are contractual details that cannot be shared. You probably not put up your working contract, and nobody else will probably do that and put it into the internet and say, hey, this is, by the way, what I'm earning every year. So certain things are just restricted in terms of data protection and all that. Yeah. Other things, for example, should be communicated very openly. What are homegrown territories? Where are we playing? What is the rule book? And I got that question a couple of weeks earlier, is like, are we willing to open the rule book so the fans can understand why referee calls have been made? And we will. We will be transparent about a lot of things when it comes to communication. But also, we established a rule within our team, and I had to learn that also myself the hard way. We only put out information if they're solid, proven, and if we can follow up on them. If it's just a thing that we like to say and then a week later we need to change it, that's nothing that we want to do in the future going forward. So transparency is an important thing. And again, we want to be as transparent as possible, but there are limitations to that transparency. And we're trying to keep the balance, and we're trying to be as open and as trustworthy as possible, while making sure that also our contractual partners are not being in problematic situations with their contracts with their partners, for example. So I think the balance needs to be there. But if you ask me a specific topic, and I know there had been a lot of rumors and talks about investors, for example, I am pretty sure that most of the fans don't know who investors of the ELF in year one were. Nobody knew that. And especially not where the money was coming from and what they're doing. And even now, I think it is hard to find out what is really necessary to be shared and what is basically a nice to know thing going forward. But I can just say we want to be as open and transparent as possible. We want to also get feedback from the fans on the teams, on the game day experience, in order to make things better. What can we do better than that it has been done in the past? Because again, if you don't get feedback, if you don't measure things, you can't improve it. And I think this is one of the big things that we want to do.
Yeah, and where the rebrand of Paris, was that already set in stone, or was that feedback from the public?
I cannot answer on specific details from the team in Paris, but I have a feeling there was a plan in place. I'm not a brand expert, to be honest. I think when you take what the city stands for, I think it's a great name. If there are some other things that are having deals with that, and I know the Paris team changed the name quite a while. The Musketeers also were not the Musketeers from the beginning, and sometimes there are third-party things that are interfering with that. For example, also the EFA logo, for example, had some challenges when we set it up back in the days altogether. And in their perspective, I think sometimes things like that are necessary. But I think it is okay to change a logo or a color scheme or anything like that, rather than saying the team is not existing or anything like that as well. I mean, we also need to be realistic. We're dealing in a very fast-moving environment with a lot of high pace and decisions that needs to be taken. And sometimes, again, decisions also needs to be taken back. That doesn't mean something structurally or something in general. And I think from that perspective, I like the new Paris look, to be honest. I find it quite appealing.
No, I like the new one better than the old one. But yeah. The Musketeers, I think basically the same time frame. Announced a team name and then switched it completely.
And there are other things as well. I mean, there was a big discussion around the old NFL Europe names, for example, because the license was with someone and then the NFL took it back. Now the teams are finally renegotiating it. So again, there are a lot of things that are not only controlled by us or the teams, the league, or whoever. There are also a lot of third-party people involved, and especially when it comes to brand and data protection and all these kind of things. Sometimes, obviously, you need to change things. But in general, again, we want to communicate as transparent as possible. We want to make sure people understand also what we're doing. And we did a lot of interviews with the referees. I unfortunately have to give a couple of interviews now, even though I don't like my voice or my face in the camera. But with the job right now, and then I'm happy that I have the opportunity to also answer questions. And I like questions. I also like critical questions. That's part of the deal here. And we want to answer those questions.
So do you guys have the license for the NFL Europe teams figured out? Because you have the Berlin and Rhine teams in the FLE.
So I cannot specifically comment on contractual topics of teams and the NFL. But I think the idea behind everything is obviously clear. I mean, why should the license of a team lies at a third party that is not running the team or has any affiliation with the team? So from my perspective, it absolutely makes sense that a license should be between the license giver and the license taker, and they should be somehow connected through something, or there should be a common connector, and now the third party that is the connector and wants to have some money out of it. So from my perspective, the idea here is that the teams are negotiating their own license terms with the license giver, which is the NFL.
Gotcha.
Which makes more sense in the end of the day. Like, they shouldn't have to be licensed, for example, with the ELF no longer really being a thing. I know they made the statement saying that but we don't have to get into that. Regardless, with the, it doesn't make much sense that the ELF holds their license for them to have their names. And I don't think it would make much sense for you guys as the AFLE to have to take the license on that now. It should just be with the Berlin Thunder and the Rhine Fire.
And Frankfurt Galaxy and
all the guys over the EFL.
All the teams.
And we totally agree. And I never try to get the license for the Berlin Thunder to sub-license them to them. So that doesn't make sense.
Sounds like a hassle, to be honest. Like,
sounds like an interesting business model, also, but not my kind of expertise in these areas.
Yeah, no, not mine either. But so moving on, we talked about expansion a little bit on how 24 teams is not viable, obviously, but it seems the FLE is bringing quite a few expansion teams. Are you worried you're expanding too quickly with the Alpine, Paris, now Italy, and the possibility of Monaco and London?
Yeah, I mean, let's look at the team specifics, and then let's talk about if they're real expansion teams or if they're something else. So Alpine there had been a team in Switzerland. There had been people working in a team in Switzerland that are separated. And for me, this is not a new market. There had been American football there. Was it run the perfect way? Probably not. So this is a market that has been established. There are good players there that played all over Europe. They have homegrown talent. They have good infrastructure. They have a good level of fans there. Could it be better? Definitely. Are all the fans that are in Switzerland, NFL fans, part of the Swiss program yet? No. So for me, this is not a new structure there. That has to do with a lot of experience already over the last couple of years. Let's look at Paris. We want to make sure that we work with people that are from the communities, that are working with the teams, that have connections to the local authorities, to the mayor, to facilities, that have connections to the national team, to the French Federation, that have connections to the NFL. So that's why we choose a team in Paris ran by exactly those people. We need local ties to the community in order to build something going forward. Again, programs like the Vienna Vikings have been here for more than 40 years. So is it possible to come into Vienna with a lot of money and a vision and build a second Vienna Vikings? Might be. Is it difficult? Definitely. Yeah. So we want to replicate those things. So that is Paris. The south of France obviously has a ton of talent, and we knew that already. To bring on something in the south of France is not a new plan. That has been also a plan in the ELF already for 2 years. Are there certain specifics that are really interesting in Monaco and the other parts of the south of France? Absolutely yes. Is it a very interesting region? Absolutely yes. Is it far away from Paris, from a homegrown market and territory? Yes. Does France have a ton of good athletes? Absolutely. And we're super confident that we can build something there, but also only with people that have the ties to the community, have been there around, speak the language. All these things that are, especially in France, are super important. We have covered. Italy is not a new market. There had been an ELF team. Last year, the Swiss team and both Austrian teams had Italy as a homegrown market. We know that there is talent. The Italian national team just beat Germany in the third place match of the European Championship. Italy is not an expansion market for us. There has been infrastructure, there has been talent, there has been all these things. So when we talk about expansion teams, that would be something in a new market with not experienced people, with not people around football, with new ownership and all these kind of things. So from our perspective, these are markets that have been developed, proven, evaluated, that are following strict KPIs in terms of stadium size and quality and all these things. And we're super happy that we have those teams. And if you look what some of the teams are pushing out on social media, for example, like the Rams, they're doing a tremendous job in showing people what is happening there. People behind the scenes, stadium, players, coaches, what happened at their Super Bowl party. I mean, I just saw so many good things from the Rams that I missed on a lot of ELF teams over the last couple of years that I'm super happy that we have them. But that goes also for other teams as well. Again, we're not just running around and looking for teams and try to build a castle in the sky here and something in clouds there. That's not what we do here. And I know the narrative is still out there, but I can promise to each and everyone out there, there are real people there. There are real coaches there. We have good stadiums there, and it's going to be great football also. And that's what we're going to focus on.
I want to just dial back to Monaco a little bit, because this is something we've been talking about on the pod for a while now. Just the one, it started with the legitimacy of a Monaco team, right? Like, is it even a possibility? What does it look like? The main thing I want to focus on is the homegrown situation, because you have been very transparent with the teams in their homegrown territories so far. With putting a team in, let's say, that Occitania region, right? Whether that's in Monaco, Nice, Marseille, whatever it's decided on. With the homegrown territory, are you worried about the competitiveness of that team in their homegrown areas? How does that look for?
No, I cannot comment the final homegrown territory, obviously.
Yeah.
it's not going to be decided. It is already decided where the team will be. I just haven't told it anyone. So this is first thing. Second thing, no, we're not worried at all because we evaluated the area quite heavily over the last 16 months or 14 months or something like that. And there is a ton of talent. You have a ton of really good football teams down there that play long-term either in the first or in the second division in the French league. You have a lot of rugby down there with really good teams. And you have a lot of general athletes in that area, either from soccer or other sports teams that is there located. So I'm not worried of the level of competition, but also, I mean, from the overall perspective, and that is something where we also need to be honest to ourselves. There is a lot of diversity in Europe when it comes to the level of play. We have seen it in the last years, and it has been obviously a bit of a clusterfuck, to be honest. And that's the only thing that I want to say here in bad language. But it has been a very disastrous situation in last year with blowout wins, 70-0, and so on and so on. And we don't want to have that. But why did these things happen? Because from a rules and regulation perspective, there was no necessity to beat a team 70-0 because after 35 points, nothing would have counted anyway. So why did that happen? Why did teams went to another team knowingly that they have no chance against them and still blow them out of the stadium by 70 points? And all those, I will not give the answer to that, but people can think about it, why and which teams happened to be in that situations. And then I think the answer is on the go. We obviously don't want that. Fans don't want that. TV don't want that. Nobody wants a 70-0. People don't even like a 38-0. And I know Prague came to Vienna as the hottest team in Europe and got shot out of the stadium quite badly, to be honest. And a lot of people said, hey, Prague will beat Vienna this time, and it's going to be a close match, and they have a chance, and so on and so on. And it ended quite badly for them. At the end, also, those wins are not too attractive, even though it's not too far away. 5 scores, 6 scores. But what you want is competitive balance. What you want is that everything is within 3 scores. That is the vision that we all share. But it is a challenge. Again, the level of football in Europe is quite different. The teams are different. And that's why some of the rules that we change also with the E players, for example, or the I players. We want to bring more talent to the table in order to make the product more competitive, and want to make sure that teams that have a lower level of competition in their home countries can subsidize these levers with additional players, for example. And this is something where we will look closely also in the future. I know the sports team has some really big surprises in their sleeves for the next season in terms of advantages that other leagues have, like the NFL, for example, or draft system or things like that. So I think we will see more development and improvement and also overall change of things in order to become even more competitive. So I think this is what we're aiming for.
So when we're looking at with that specific region, when we're talking as fans or as the media, should we kind of avoid the term the Monaco team, and should we start thinking of it more as the Southern France team? Because I think that's where a lot of people have gotten so mixed up with things, is they're like, how is this going to work in a city of 30,000 people? How is this going to work, when they have only one stadium in the entire city itself?
Yeah, but in Monaco itself, I think they have 3 stadiums. At least I have seen 3.
Okay.
But the area itself is quite rich in people, cities, local football teams, and opportunities in order to play. So, but also Monaco itself obviously comes with a lot of excitement and a lot of prestige at a certain point. Mm-hmm. Especially when you look at who is involved in the project, and I can't reveal it yet, but I think for everybody it's very clear that if you build something in Monaco, and even in the south of France as well, because you need very strong ties to the decision makers locally, because that's how France is built. You need to have strong ties to the ministries, to the sport ministers, to the mayors, to the infrastructure holders. So there's a lot of excitement there in the area in order to go forward. And we all know, obviously, Monaco cannot feed an entire team with Monaco citizens. Yeah. So it's going to be obviously something where the south of France will come together. But there is, that's gonna be a tough one. I mean, people that are now doubting Monaco and the south of France, I have a good feeling that they get surprised over the summer, because I know a couple of things that you guys don't know. And to be honest, I'm very excited, very, very excited.
Well, it's also much sexier to say Monaco than it is to say Nice or Marseille, right? Like, it's just with the prestige that Monaco holds. So that makes sense.
Have you been to Nice? I mean, that's an outstanding city.
Yeah, no, I agree. But like, when you're looking at it from like a outside perspective, Monaco has a little bit more prestige to it.
Absolutely.
Just in terms of marketing. Again, that was one of the main things I brought up when we were discussing the Monaco team. Is I was worried when they were speaking about Monaco specifically, is okay, if it's marketed as Monaco, it's the Monaco whatever, it's all of this, but then you're playing in Nice, doesn't that feel like that gets offensive to, the people from Nice and the people from southern France? You're marketed as the Monaco whatever, but you're actually playing in Nice. It's not the same thing as, the Giants in the NFL playing in East Rutherford and being from New York City. The thing is with that is East Rutherford's a suburb of New York City. Nice isn't a suburb of Monaco. The way I was thinking about it is, think about having the San Diego Chargers, but they're playing in Tijuana. You're dealing with a different country. You're dealing with a different people. It feels like it can get messy there, where you're saying, oh yeah, we're the San Diego Chargers, we play in Tijuana. And it's like, okay, does that make anybody in San Diego happy? And on top of that, does that make anybody in Tijuana happy? Because both of their cities are being misrepresented. Yeah,
I think it's that cooperation idea that we're trying to implement quite heavily here, is that Monaco itself obviously cannot feed an American football team. We know that already. So France needs to be involved at a certain point.
Definitely.
So I think it's less about how the team is called or where are they from. I mean, you have teams in Scandinavia that play in one country and also have players from other countries. I think actually the idea is pretty good, because it opens up the market to more countries, and to more players have the opportunity to enjoy that wild and crazy ride that we're doing here in the summer. Again, 6 years ago, nobody or almost nobody in Europe flew with a plane to play American football over the weekend. That was, yes, you had national teams and all that. I understand that, but this is a regular business for teams now. They go to the airport and fly somewhere for the weekend and have a great time and play American football. So I think there's not going to be a challenge there, but it's also something that needs to grow over time. And you cannot just say, hey. And there are other countries which could, where the Scandinavian example could follow, for example. When you look into the United Kingdom, for example, why not having a team that consists out of Scotland and Ireland at a certain point, or even do an all England team, for example, so or all UK team? There are many, 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 many ideas that are coming our way, and that we will look at, evaluate, and look what's best for us going into the future. And build something that holds on for the future, and that we can then talk about for the next years.
I want to backtrack real quick, because we were speaking about some of the really egregious blowouts that had occurred in the previous iteration of European football, right? A big culprit of that 2 years ago were the Barcelona Dragons. The Barcelona Dragons were consistently getting destroyed. They had a forfeit at halftime at one point. We covered that extensively because it was so fascinating. Well, it was bad for the sport, but it was fascinating to see just like how uncompetitive that Barcelona team was compared to the rest of the league. Now, with the Italian team coming in, someone who was with the Barcelona Dragons has already been, put together with the Italian team. They're one of the major players there. So I just want to see with the Italian team specifically, how is it going to be different from Barcelona?
I think to compare that is very tough, to be honest. And I also, that's not really fair. The markets are very different. Spain and Italy's football market is very, very different. Barcelona also made it to the playoffs, by the way. I know if people forget that, but they made it to the playoffs, and they had some really good games there. I think what definitely was not there was help and support from the league and from other teams as well.
Okay.
I think teams were not working together at that point in time when things like that happened. So that's definitely going to be different. I think there was no bigger approach on things, like how we can set up homegrown territories in order to help them. I mean, why was Barcelona not giving Portugal, for example, also as a homegrown market to source players from, when the local talent in the Catalonian region was not there or not good enough or hard to get or whatever it might be? I can just say, I think we should not make the mistake and treat people unfair based on things and circumstances that they couldn't have changed and anything. I can just say I've been a couple of times to Barcelona. Hamburg played there, and I was there as well. I met Bart as a very hardworking, honest, and transparent person who worked his ass off for this team, from painting the field, supporting players, coaches, other teams, hosted teams from other cities the best way possible, supported us in every personal way. And I think this is now a much different time. So I wouldn't go into things like that with too much prejudice and say, hey, but yeah, he was not good in Barcelona and they were so bad at a certain point. They were also in the playoffs. Nobody's talking about these things. So I think the Italian market is much different than the Spanish market. I think they have much better help and support now. I think we can structurally build things much better now because we know already a lot of things that were not going well in the past. And I think there's a big chance here for Italy to become a very strong team in the future. Again, third place in the European national and the European Championship this year. They beat Germany.
Do we have a time frame on when we'll know kind of team logo, city, where this Italian team will be?
Yep, everything is ready already. I mean, just because we're not posting everything at once, this doesn't mean that we don't know what it is. I know the logo since weeks already. I know the name already since weeks. I think, and I have to double check with the media team, but I think the logo, the further information will follow next week.
Okay.
Based a little bit on the other things that we're also pushing out next week, but there's going to be a lot of information following the next 9 days.
I don't want to get you in trouble, so I'm just going to ask kind of a roundabout question here. Yeah. With the social media that was posted regarding the Italian team, with the kind of background of the image, was that a hint to maybe where the team would be?
Can you repeat that question real quick?
So the social media that was posted in regards to this is the Italian team, they were using skylines of a specific city in Italy. Is that a hint of what we're looking at, or?
I don't know. I have to double check with my media department.
Okay.
We talked a lot about Italy and Monaco. We heard rumors of London. Is that even still a thing for 26, or is that kind of pushed off till 27?
Good question. No, it's on the agenda for 26.
Okay.
We're working to finalize things, hopefully. I said it last week. I said we were announcing 2 out of 3 teams that are still open within the next 10 days. So that's still the plan.
So Italy, then either Monaco or London would be 2 out of 3.
Or both.
Or all 3. Yeah.
As I said before, we're not posting things when we're not 100% sure, when everything has been done and organized. But I can just tell you, London's going to be a big one when it's coming. And I know the Elf has aimed it for years. Sorry. It's a massive market, but it's also a very complex market. And also there, I'm pretty sure there are enough billionaires, millionaires, trillionaires living in US or in London or in both times that could put out some couple of millions and say, hey, we're going to build a team. But I think it's not that easy. And the people that we're working with have a head start on things because they're doing things like the last 30 years. They're big in the market. They know what they're doing. They have ties to anything from the soccer, the Premier League, but also into the NFL. They have academy experience and a couple of other things. So these guys are professionals by heart and fans by heart. And London is going to be a big thing whenever they might come.
Is London in talks with like BAFA, the British Football Association, with the creation of the London team, or are you guys just kind of separating yourself from everyone to kind of hold down or release the London team? Because everyone we know in the British football media sphere has heard nothing about this London team, and it must be the best kept secret.
It's crazy that sometimes nothing gets leaked and sometimes everything gets leaked. So I mean, I don't know where you do your research. I know the people who I'm talking to, and I think, again, we don't want to push out narratives or information before they haven't set in stone, period. And it's going to be the same thing with London. I can just say, probably even if we would add them somewhere in March, which we will not do because of scheduling and everything, they would still be pretty good. And I'm really looking forward. And regarding BAFA, we want to get in touch with all federations, not only BAFA or AFL, AFBÖ in Österreich, or the federation in Germany or Italy. I think there had been a lot of challenges in the past, and probably there will be challenges in the future too. But I can just say we need to work together at a certain point. And again, we're also in touch with IFAF right now regarding national team breaks and stuff like that. So sometimes it takes a little bit more time and different people maybe and different approaches. But at the end, we're all here for the same thing, and that's American football. So I think we need to work together and make sure that we get things done.
Yeah. And working together, I guess, and maybe a future issue that could pop up is there any concern about like the EFA London-based team and the EFA Italian team that is on the horizon, that in the future, if you guys merge, and I guess even Paris, if you're merging, is there any concern about even competitive balance between players being stolen between London, the two UK teams, and the other teams as well?
I mean, I think players have been stolen all over Europe since centuries, basically, in different kind of sports. So yes and no, to be honest. And I also can't comment on what other teams are doing and when they are doing it and who is doing it. I can just say we're working with the people that have the boots on the ground, that have the grassroots programs, that are in the communities. And what happens in the future, but ifs and whens, and where a new team will pop up or a new league or somebody else or here and there, I can honestly not say. We want to make sure that we're working with the best teams. We give the players the best experience. We make it safe and sound for them. We make sure that we have our things under control. And that's mainly the things that I'm focusing on right now. Again, I think good competition is important. And I think there are a couple of cities in Europe where two teams could be potentially working in the future, or even not. I don't know yet. But we're evaluating the markets that we want to be in. And once we have solid partners that have been evaluated and that have been checked and vetted, we're going to set foot in these markets as well. And if others have the same idea, I'm looking forward to what comes out of that.
Yeah.
So I know we have an idea of teams coming in 2026, how that's going to look for the playing field. Do you guys already have plans for teams in 2027? Are you looking to expand even further at that point?
Yeah, we have a plan for the next 5 years. So not only 27. That also means expansion teams, and we have already gotten a ton of requests of expansion teams that want to join. Some of them are questionable and need to be vetted quite differently, and some of them are very legit. And we have been talks since last 2 years already, when the first time came out that there might be a possibility after most of the ELF contracts are ending, that there is something new on the horizon that could be looking a little bit more attractive or better in the future. So yes, we're doing a lot of talks. We're looking at markets quite intensively. We're looking on what's going on with collaboration with other sports and so on and so on. So there is an expansion plan for the next 5 years already in my draw.
Perfect.
I would straight up ask you what cities you're looking at, but you're probably not allowed to say that.
If you look at the European map and how the level of football is in certain countries, then I think the answer is very simple, that there are teams in the north that are interesting, countries in the west are interesting. I think there could be potential in the middle is also something that is more and more interesting. We already talked about UK. There is more opportunities there, I think, in the next couple of years. But again, it is less about the quantity of teams that want to join or we want to join. It is more about, are the right people there? Do we have the fundings? Do we make sure we have programs? Do they have something which adds value to the team in terms of the market? Do they add anything else from a perspective there? So these are the things that we're looking at. But again, Europe has a certain amount of countries. Some of them are not football countries, American football countries, not at all. So there are also certain countries that will never set foot in the next 5 years.
No, yeah, that'll make sense. And I asked you this before we even started recording, but our next question, what's the schedule going to look like? And do you have a location? I know you have a date, but do you have a location for the championship game yet?
Of course, we have a location since months already. Contract also has been signed. Everything is fixed. But with a location alone, you can't play a championship game. You need a name, you need a logo, you need a trophy. All these things taking a lot of time, which the team is working on heavily. And we want to make sure that it's going to be an outstanding experience for the fans on the 6th of September. And that's why not all the information have been pushed out yet. But it's going to be an amazing experience. And it's going to be 2 days, which is new. We're going to do a football festival on Saturday and then the championship game on Sunday to make things tangible in terms of what we can offer to our fans. Because we know that most of the fans are traveling there anyway over the weekend, and then we can offer something excitement also on Saturday. So it's going to be a 2-day event, and we're going to have a lot of new things and a couple of things that have been there in the past. And overall, I'm looking forward to that weekend of the 5th and 6th of September, and I'm going to be super excited about it.
In the lead up to the championship game, is the schedule basically going to be the same as the ELF's schedule, almost week by week?
Correct. It's going to be 14 weeks backwards with 2 bye weeks, so 12 games per team, 6 home games, 6 away games.
Okay. Could you tell us what airport we could fly into for this game? You don't have to say if it's in that city or not, but we're just trying to make travel plans. So
it's an airport that is frequented. So from wherever you're coming from, there are a lot of flights in there.
Okay. Good to know.
Perfect. Is there anything that we didn't discuss today that maybe we should have?
From my perspective, no. I think that was a lot of comprehensive questions. I can just reiterate on what I said earlier. Is like we want to make sure that this thing is here for to stay. We want to make sure that some of the things that were handled badly in the past will be handled better. And we're open for dialogue. We're open for feedback. We're open for criticism. We're open for meetings and discussions and fights if it's necessary. And we're open to build together. And I think that's the important part here. And I'm really excited about things. I'm thankful and grateful for a lot of the people that I'm working with. And I'm also grateful for the experience that we all had the last 5 years, and that we now have the opportunity to build something even better. And that's what's exciting me. And that's what's going to go on for the next couple of weeks and months.
Perfect. And the final question, we always ask this. Usually it's to players, coaches, owners. So it's going to be a little different for you. But if you could take one player in all of NFL history and drag and drop them into any AFLE team, who would it be?
Wow. That's a tough one. I mean, I would probably can go with an obvious answer, which would be Tom Brady at quarterback, which would be super interesting. But that is a really. I would probably go with prime Gronkowski because he was just so electric, and so unstoppable and so determined. I think I would have fun watching that one.
That easy to market too.
Oh yeah, so easy. That would be crazy.
So that's my answer. Prime Rob Gronkowski.
No one has said Gronk yet, so you're on your own on that one. But.
Well, perfect. Where can people find more information about the AFLE? What are your social platforms? And
absolutely, check the socials. AFLE, the League Europe. Our website has been launched. Our IT team did an outstanding job there. It looks very fresh and very clean. Yeah. I'm not an IT guy, but I just can tell you that a couple of nights I got woken up by 3 a.m. by messages on my phone because the IT team was exchanging some ideas and what we can do better and all these things. So these guys did a heck of a job. Come to the stadiums, look out for dates that we're releasing, schedule that we're releasing. Come to this final on the 6th of September. Visit the teams. Have an outstanding football summer. It's going to be amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been Fourth Down Fiasco. You can find us on Twitter /X at @4thdown_pod, and then at Fourth Down Fiasco on all other social media platforms. this is going to be on YouTube as well as our listening platforms, which is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. So make sure to share. And if you want to see more interviews like this in the future, thank you, everybody.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.